Blessings. This is video 4 from the playlist Breathwork Meditations for Stress, Trauma, and Emotional Healing. This particular video is for releasing old grief and healing your heart. And so that's why I have my green on today. That's the heart chakra color. This is a dark forest green. And a lot of times we don't know we've stored grief. You know, life gets busy, life gets complicated. There's been a lot, especially I can speak in the United States in the last 6 years that have happened that is overwhelming for the soul to process. So, welcome. Grab your notebook, pen, and of course, your water. And let's begin. We're going to start with the breath work. And I'm going to ask you to go deeper today in that breath. See if you can extend both the inhale and exhale in length. And headset on, no music and sound, just you, me, and your higher self and my higher self. So sitting up tall, feet parallel, rub those hands together. Feel that energy. That's your energy. Cover the right nostril and begin breathing deep and long through the left. Beautiful. On the next exhale, switch sides. On your next exhale, relax. And I want you to write in your notebook what you observed today with your breath. We've been talking about this in the video series and also the first playlist, Breathwork for Leaders. So if you're not new to it, you might want to review that at some point. So what we're observing is the length of the breath. So when you cover the right nostril, is the inhale longer or the exhale? How do they feel? Same thing with opening up the right side. You're starting to pay attention to breath patterns for yourself. Since we're dealing with grief today, I'm going to talk a little bit more, and feel free to write or just sort of take in what I would call a lecture. I was writing in my journal for a while and crying this morning, releasing old grief. So it's interesting that this is the video that I'm doing today, right? Is that an accident, or is that what my soul needs fed as well? And sort of releasing the grief of a person and energy that had consistently off and on been in my life for many years, 15. And from the outside looking in, some would say a turbulent energy, a trauma bonding energy, but knowing my past life records and this person's past life records, which you can learn that as well through the work of the brain protocols, really going within. And I learned some powerful information. It's just sort of seeing those patterns in this life and how these two souls, me and this other person, are healing karma, healing things that did not necessarily we weren't in our higher consciousness necessarily in that lifetime or lifetimes together. So I mean, so I was grieving and sort of writing all these notes out. And one of the statements early on when I met this soul, who was traumatized and would not hide that childhood trauma, is that one of the bravest things we can do is to get up in the morning. And it was a simple phrase. It was something I've never heard anyone else say in my life, having studied so much trauma and literature and books over the years. But it was something that, because it was voiced to me, the penetration got into my soul, because we do have this soul energy of past lives together, good and bad. And that's when I went into, probably 4 weeks later, I began what I call the dark night of the soul, where I started to get a lot of pain in my body and started to lose my ability to walk. And I talk about this in podcasts that you can review on my social media sites. And it was really that statement, because mornings were extremely challenging for me, because that's when my childhood abuse happened, every morning at the same time, like clockwork. And also when I would literally get out of bed to step my foot onto the floor, I knew there was no avoiding the pain. Like, I was not going to run to the sugar anymore. I was not able to be a workaholic because I had so much pain. I mean, I could have avoided it and gone on meds, but that wasn't an option for me. So I was going to have to deal with the consequences of people who use their hands as weapons and their voices as weapons to me, not only in this life, but in past lives. So coming onto this video and doing this work and is a brave thing. Showing up is part of the work. Showing up for yourself and showing up and deciding what you're going to do. You see, I didn't sit all day long eating sugar, and I don't judge anybody who does that, but I chose to do medical meditations hours and hours a day and drink electrolytes produced water. So I do on my videos, commercials, in essence. If you watch television, I mean, those commercials are billion-dollar commercials, big corporations, but this channel is really, the sponsor is Multi-Pure, and I offer a gift code, which I'll state now. 5% off your first purchase. Shower filter, very unique. I would read up on what makes it different from the shower filters in commercial stores right now, because getting that chlorine and all those chemicals into the brain is definitely not going to help your pituitary pineal, and it's really cost effective. And then obviously under the kitchen shower, under the kitchen sink is a filter I use before I get to the Japanese medical device. Yeah, very important. You can't have any water ionizer or generator on your kitchen counter that does any type of changing of pH or ORP um, in my opinion, without a proper clean filter unit. And I've actually used several of them before I came to multi-pure. I think it's cost effective. It's been around, the company's been around for 53 years. It's not going anywhere. They have been recorded as having like some of the most important certifications, third party testing. And if you go on their site and really read up on it, they do free educational talks each month, which is important. It's important to keep on track of what's happening with especially America water. I live in the United States, and a lot of people are really ignorant of that. So I love the fact that they give a free educational talk and then a free business talk, you know. So anyway, the 5% discount code is 436409. 436409, and I'm grateful for that being a sponsorship for this channel so that I can serve. But the truth is what I'm going to talk about today in healing grief goes deeper. It goes into the Japanese medical device, which if you're interested in, you can read my free ebook on my website. The ebook is at the bottom of the page, Water Matters, and it starts to talk about the sciences and the 7 different types of waters you can use for healing and for cleaning your clothes and your house if you choose to. Japan is #1 in everything, and they've been using these devices in their hospitals for over, I think, 64 years now. They're not going anywhere, and they're the best. So for me, having so much trauma 15 years ago with OCD, PTSD, you name it, betrayal, deaths, um, and watching my clients, there is definitely something magical that happens with multi-pure under the sink and then the Japanese medical device on the counter and drinking what is called really electrolyzed reduced water, which has more PubMed research than any other product that I'm aware of. Um, Now, I could be wrong on that statement, but I've had a lot of scientists, physical therapists, and doctors as clients, and they do their research. So they have told me that. But for me, it was experience. It was following my intuition, and it's been one of the best investments I've ever made for my health. And I believe watching my clients, what happens is we're going to be doing some breath work and moving the upper body and doing breath meditation work for grief. But when you're drinking acidic things all day long, you might not cry or be able to release that grief. And what I have found with everyone who has gotten these 2 systems is they just start to cry. And they're surprised at how much they're crying because we live in a society that has numbed and repressed and suppressed so much, especially I want to say especially for women, but maybe that's not correct because 80% of my clients have been women. I do know a couple men that come to my mind, one being a CEO, that there was a lot of crying because there was a lot of childhood abuse that was not cleared out of the tissues, the bones. And this is where prevention comes in. This is where cancers and Alzheimer's and dementia come in. How do we prevent some of that? Well, through what's showing up today and what you're doing with learning the vocabulary of breath work and how to circulate the breath to open up, to get clear, to do these medical meditations and a medical grade water, which is really multi-pure, and then the Japanese medical device. So if you want more information on that, just email me at youmatter108@gmail.com. So I'm going to drink some water. And what we're going to do now is alternate breathing before we set our intention. Okay. Sitting up tall, cover the right nostril, take a deep inhale through the left. Cross over and exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Cross over and exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Cross over and exhale through the right. Deep inhale through the right. And cross over, exhale through the left. Beautiful. Rub the hands together. Place them over the heart. We did this in a past video, and I feel called to do this as part of setting our intention today. The healing chant. We're going to speak it with love to our inner child, the inner children in us from past lives as well, to our heart, to our soul. So you can listen to it, and if you feel comfortable, follow along. Ra, ma, da, sa, sa, se, so, hung. The sun, the moon, the earth. We're all interconnected to that. That's why as you continue to heal, doing some of this work under a tree outside with the birds and the bees, you'll start to feel that energy, and then you'll start to respect it. That's why I work for Gaia. That's why I talk about the water. We need to elevate everybody with clean and then medical grade water to get to a point where we can tackle not putting toxic chemicals in the water, in the oceans, in the rivers, not putting plastic bottles on the ground. It starts with a foundation to then come and clean up collectively, Gaia, Mother Earth. Everything I do has a much, much deeper meaning. Ra, ma, da, sa, sa, se, so, hung. Ra, ma, da, sa, sa, se, so, hung. It's interesting, releasing old grief, how we use our words and choose to use our words with others. You know, love. What is love? What is real love? Write about it today. Put those questions in your notebook. Not what your mom or your dad or your friend or the internet or me told you. Start to explore it. I was talking about that energy, that other person. Throughout the years, I thought I was going to build a life and marry this person. But what I know now is that this person's trauma bond and behavioral patterns were a mirror of things we had to clean up from past lives. But there was still wisdom in moments. And the word love for me was used with people that manipulated it, whether they were conscious or not, but I don't know. I think they were. In some ways, that's their programming. So it didn't mean anything. And my clients who have had childhood traumas have voiced this as well. It's also in your adulthood, people who say things, but what does that mean and how you define it? What's your love language? For me, love language is action. It's showing up. That's why I always admired my students for showing up. And especially my private clients. Some of them, just like myself, that was probably one of the hardest things they had to do, was show up, turn everything else off, and actually listen to a heart that was hurting. It's not easy to do. And so I think Rama Dasa is a way of healing and taking that English word out, because that person never said, I love you. And maybe they were tormented and felt that and couldn't voice it. But it was also like they weren't misusing the word either. They weren't just saying, I love you to get your attention or to get you to have sex with them or to whatever. I love you is in a powerful statement. And so I think today we're going to use I love myself throughout the breath work. So as we do the movements with the body, which we've done in the last last 3 classes, we're going to inhale and we're going to exhale mentally thinking, I love myself. And I want you to write in your notebook right now, not only I love myself, but if it comes up as I'm teaching, you can write. That's fine. You can come back to this video. That's what's great about a video. So if you have a download, I want you to really write and just come back to the class, tomorrow. But I want you to start writing down what that means. What is love to you? What does it look like? What does it feel like? Because a lot of people who were abused by people that they should have trusted, whether that's in the church, whether that's at home, said words and then created a dyslexia with those words, which we get into the rewiring of that with PTSD, ADHD, childhood trauma. And if you're having trouble with questions and how to explore all that, Transcending Victim to Goddess has a lot of questions after each chapter, as well as meditations, but something you can work on if you have already a therapist or a coach or a healer that you're working with. I love myself, and then starting to define or redefine it. Redefine it from maybe the roots of where you came from. So we're going to keep that mantra. I am going to just set the intention, calling in my higher self, calling in a direct connection to the Divine Mother, the Creator Mother Earth, the Ascendant Masters, the angelic team, the higher beings of light to protect me and guide me through this class today, as well as protecting my students and guiding them to their higher practice. Thank you for being. Okay, sitting up tall, chin to the chest. Deep inhale to the right. We create a figure 8 with the neck rolls. Exhale to the left. Now we're going to say, I love myself when we're exhaling. Deep inhale to the right. Exhale to the left. Deep inhale to the right. Exhale to the left. Come back center. Chin to the chest, other way. Inhale to the left. Exhale to the right. Deep inhale to the left. Exhale, I love myself. Mentally vibrating that in. Inhale to the left. Exhale to the right. Come back center, shoulder shrug, same thing. Inhale up. Exhale, thinking I love myself. Inhale, twist. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. And when you're saying that, you can focus right here or just keep your eyes open, focusing on me. Inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Again, inhale up. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. One more time. Inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Spinal flex. Inhale the chest forward. Shoulder blades coming together. Exhale. Thinking I love myself as you curl a C shape in the spine, stretching the middle part of the back. Inhale. The breath leads you. Exhale. Inhale. 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 Exhale. Inhale, sitting up nice and tall. And exhale. We're going to do a little fire breath. If you don't know how to do fire breath, go to the other playlist called Breathwork for Leaders, video 2. Go through that whole series to learn, to really learn fire breath, not through a fast video on YouTube, but to actually start getting the technique for advancement. So fire breath, both hands on the belly. Inhale, belly expands. Exhale, it pulls in. Staccato rhythm. If you get dizzy, just stop. It means that one, it's not even. The breath isn't even, that's all. This is my disclaimer I put at the end of my videos, descriptions. The disclaimer is you have to take full responsibility for being on this video. And if something is bothering you, you need to stop and seek professional. You need to write it down. You need to become your own healer, medical advisor. we have no liability to you taking this, to using this video. And this is really important to teach you that, to teach you to know when to stop, to teach you to know when to pay attention to aches and pains, and then to decide what type of professional, whether it's a trauma expert like myself, healer like myself, or Western medicine, whatever you choose, but you're choosing something to then work on your health, to work on what's going on. And if you read my book and my book series, you'll learn that I went into the Western field for a while and really didn't want to have pills the rest of my life or labels. So I took the road less traveled. Now, it was not easy. So, you know, this is a personal decision you make with yourself. So that's the disclaimer. Um, so hands on the belly, fire, breath. Inhale, exhale. Now hands at the heart, press a little bit, fire, breath. "26. 2 and 6 is 8. 8 is infinity. Deep inhale. Exhale, shake it out. We're going to do one more today, which I haven't done in any of the videos. But when I'm talking about that energy, that other energy in the journey, when we met, we had huge egos. It might not have looked like that in the classroom, because when I went in the classroom, it was like I could easily go into all of the ancient libraries that I had. But in real life, in my personal life, yeah, because those sicknesses, that healing process is ego masks death, you know? And so this is ego eradicator. Your hands are positioned like this. Thumbs are always the ego. We're indenting the fingers. We're going to go into a straight V, no bend. Needs to be locked, shoulders down, fire, breath. Do the best you can. If this hurts, if you have some sort of, you can modify, but really the hurt in general for me personally was blocks mentally and emotionally. I need to grieve this, not hold it. I need to understand I'm sad about this. I need to write about my feelings, because I didn't have people around me that cared to listen. Like I was trained in an environment where I produce and people take. So that became a pattern in my family system. My family has really very little idea of who I am. So, and a lot of my victim clients, because I've worked with predators, same case. As we go through questions, like in my book, nobody's asked them those questions. They start to realize that they're sitting at family events just like a shadow in the corner. Like there's no interconnection of wanting to grow or really learning who that person is. And it's in essence not personal, but it is the environments, so you have to become aware of what your environments are and what type of environment you want to create for yourself. It starts with you. When I first got the water and I was healing and I wanted to share it with my whole family, they totally thought I was crazy. I mean, I would be at a family event and all of a sudden people were asking me about my work and I would mention the water, and then they'd ask my brother or somebody and they weren't into it. They wouldn't even say anything positive. Like, we're glad that she's seeing positive results. Like, wouldn't that be just like sort of the ethical thing to do, but no, it was just like, oh, we don't do that. So I got all that shame, but I still kept drinking my water. And if you look at my book and you look at my pictures on my website, I've anti-aged. Now, things changed over the years. They got sick, and then they got the water, not really because I mean, it was kind of interesting situations. Don't wait for somebody else. You're on this video for a reason, and everybody else might be like, why are you spending money on that? Well, there's a lot of things worse you can do with your money. We could make a whole list here, besides medical grade water that has more PubMed research than pretty much any product on the market. So, I mean, that's the road that I took. That's less traveled. So ego deaths, I think the United States is having a lot of them right now, right? So here we go. I'm going to show you what it looks like, and then I'm going to have to sit up tall to do it. Okay. Fire breath. Inhale, thumbs meet above the head. Stay here, exhale. Inhale, stretch the arms. Stretch the fingers like that. Exhale. One more time, inhale. Slowly exhale your aura. 3 minutes. If you haven't done that before, I would say 3 minutes every time you're doing this set. Now we're going to get into releasing old grief, a meditation. Let me read the notes. We're going to inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. As we're exhaling through the mouth, you're sticking the tongue out. We have an arm movement with this. So this movement is going to affect the subconscious mind and help release stored grief. The grief we swallowed, the grief we were never had space to feel. At any point, if you need to stop and write, do so. Okay, yeah, that's all I have to say about that at this moment. Your palms are up, sitting on the lap. You inhale in this position. Exhale as they slowly come up. And the tongue goes out. And it's almost like if I was in water, I would be throwing the water behind me. I see myself in India right now doing that in a past life. So yeah. Inhale. Exhale. Close the eyes on this one. Stretch the tongue. That works on the vagus nerve. And relax, focus in, breathing deep and long. Place the hands on the belly. And when you feel ready, fire breath again. Breathe deep and long. Hands at the heart, press, fire breath again. Breathe deep and long. Ego eradicator, fire breath again. Inhale, relax, focus in. Feel the breath deep and long. Grab your pen, and I'm going to ask you a question and write. Don't judge what you're writing. It may not even have anything to do with the question I ask you, just write. What truth have you been holding, a memory, a feeling, a situation, and you've been carrying it alone? Write out that truth on paper. And now express it to you and your higher self and any of the team you brought into this practice as we're teaching, whether that's the Divine Mother, whatever you believe in. What truth have you been carrying alone? Once you're done, just focus in. You may need to pause the video and spend a little bit more time. We're going to do one more exercise. It's an exercise to finish this set. Video 5 completes the playlist next week. What ADHD, depression, and fatigue have in common? A brain balancing breathwork class. It's now reaching a different level. And you may say, wow, I know some people with ADHD. I would have them start at the beginning of Breathwork for Leaders playlist, those 9 videos, and get a breath foundation, then do the videos, the 4 videos before doing this one. This one's going to be a little bit more challenging and start to introduce you to brain protocols. So, I love myself. one of the things as in the yogic world that we advise when you come home from work, you come home from a situation that was stressful, you go into the shower and you shower it and you're wiping off that energy, that energy and sort of the mind, but you're not just cleaning with soap, but with self-love. And a lot of the women I've worked with, whether they were CEOs, house moms, it doesn't matter. A lot of them were never taught, just like I was never taught. You know, I was hiding my body, ashamed of my body because of all the physical abuse and violation. And the Divine Mother taught me in my first dark night of the soul. And I remember this, I was bathing in mineral waters because I have the Japanese mineral shower unit. It was a real luxury item. And I remember working and saving my money for it. It was a gift that I gave myself. And that's also something that I cherish. But I remember sitting in the bathtub and really cleaning myself and saying, I love myself. I love myself. I love myself. And so I want you to start to incorporate that, whether you take showers or baths. Baths are really, really a beautiful ritual. A lot of women enjoy it. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't take baths now because of the toxic water. We've moved into having a lot of showers in houses, which I think is a sad movement. Um, if there's one gift you want to give your wife, if there's a man on this video, give her the gift of the Japanese shower unit. It's not cheap. We do have payment plans, but you don't have to go to a fancy resort for a week to soak in you know, minerals. You can have it in your home every day. It is amazing what it does for skincare, but it's also washing away stress. And women, I know because I've worked with them, love taking baths at night. If you want to soften your partner and have her relaxed, this is an amazing gift that you can give her. Just message me. I can talk to you if you need a payment plan, how that works. They're very, very generous. The company in Enagic in Japan really wants people to be able to afford these things because they don't make things cheaply. You can't license anything as a medical device in Japan without like 14 years of it being, processed. So everything is handmade in one medical facility, which is very important because you don't want to invest in something cheaper that, okay, the part came here and okay, there's no longer a part there and the part is really toxic and made. You don't want that at all. So continue, I love myself. But today we're going to do that. And you're saying it to yourself, but you can say it out loud if nobody's around. It's important to say it out loud and hear it as well. Hear your own voice. Say it to yourself, I love myself. Deep inhale. 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 And you do it with every body part. And if you feel pain in an area, you stay there. And maybe you don't get to the whole, but you stay there. I love myself. And you start to actually learn to be your own masseuse in some ways too. And you start to appreciate when somebody is, and you make sure you have a safety, you make sure they honor energy. And so that when they're touching you, they're not imprinting all their traumas onto you, right? So that's a very sacred, you know, hiring somebody to touch you. is a very sacred thing. Um, so we have to qualify that. I love myself. And I want to say to you that I love the fact that you joined me on this video today. I actually needed it. And so it's perfect timing for me to film this video. And thank you for being a part of the Heather Ann Ferri channel. If you would like to be on my mailing list for Zoom workshops, especially with the brain protocols for my music that I am going to be producing this year, my books, my events, you matter 108@gmail.com. I'd love to have you a part of the movements, the water movements, the breath movements, and maybe my music movement, whatever resonates within your heart. And I just want to remind you that you showed up and you did this class today, and give yourself credit for that and be proud of yourself. Say, I'm proud of myself for doing this and learning something new or going deeper into this practice for myself. Many blessings.